Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's presentation. My name is Ashley Rumschlag, the VP of Digital Services at Teresa's Fund and domesticshelters.org. I'm joined today by Rachel Myers, our Digital Services Specialist, who will be monitoring chat throughout the presentation. We are so excited today to be hearing from Kristen Faith with the Nonprofit Makeover about social media strategies to build and grow community support. Just a few housekeeping items before we get started. First off, we will have live closed captioning available during the webinar. To enable, please click More in the menu bar and select Show Subtitles. A transcript will also be provided within a week of the presentation. All attendees are in listen-only mode. If you have a question for the presenter, please enter it in the Q&A box. Chat can be used to communicate with other attendees and panelists and alert us of any issues with the webinar. A certificate, transcript, recording, and any additional resources referenced throughout the presentation will be emailed to everyone within the next week. If you are a call-in listener, please remember to send us an email at info@domesticshelters.org just to let us know where we can send that information. And everyone hopefully is familiar with domesticshelters.org, but I do like to give a brief overview of our organization. We are the only searchable database of domestic violence programs in the US and Canada. If you are from a DV agency, which I hope many of you are, please make sure that your information is up to date. And if you're not sure if it is, feel free to reach out to us at info@domesticshelters.org, and we can certainly help with that. We also have over 800 articles and other resources that can be shared on social media. And if you are a US program, we offer a free wish list service that allows donors to send you items from anywhere in the world directly to your organization. And a little call to action here. If you'd like to stay in touch with us more, please make sure that you're signed up for our weekly newsletter, and you can do so by visiting domesticshelters.org/sign up, and we'll put that link in the chat as well. All right, and without further ado, we're so excited today to have Kristen Faith, the founder and CEO of the Nonprofit Makeover. Kristen's been a huge supporter of domesticshelters.org from the very beginning in 2014, and we are just a big fan of her amazing work that she's done to fight domestic violence. So hi, Kristen. Thank you so much for joining us today.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and take over the screen real quick. Thank you so much for that lovely introduction. Hello, everybody. I am super excited to be here, and I am super excited to share everything that I've learned. You may have recognized me on Glamour Magazine, ESPN. I'm also the founder of one of the most amazing domestic violence nonprofits, called Break the Silence Against Domestic Violence. I transitioned out of my nonprofit back in August, and now I am here to serve you and your organization and really help you to catapult into 2021 and beyond. So I'm going to get through as much information as I possibly can. I was given a nice little window to share all of my goodness with all of you. So if you have questions during my presentation, feel free to drop them in the chat. I have an amazing team, Ashley and Rachel, who are going to be helping to facilitate those questions, and I'm going to answer as many as I can at the end of our presentation. So let's jump into it. So today we're going to talk about social media strategies to build and grow your community support. So I'm going to be telling you lots of different things about how I was able to grow my nonprofit and how I went from literally selling t-shirts out of the trunk of my car to being featured on Huffington Post, Now This, Glamour Magazine, ESPN, and literally being one of the only domestic violence nonprofits on the internet to have a blue check verified brand online. So this is all information that you're going to want to learn and soak in and get all the goodness so you can share these literal tips and tricks that I use to help your organization. So let's start with some questions. Is this you? I'm new to this whole social media thing and I just don't know what to do. Do I need social media? Believe it or not, there are tons of nonprofits who ask me this every single day. I don't want to do social media. It's too much work. I don't think our nonprofit is fit for social media. And let me just tell you, without going completely off a tangent, social media is key. You can raise more money. You can find more people online. You can find volunteers. You can find board members. And most importantly, you can share your nonprofit stories. So yes, you need social media. And third, everyone is tired of virtual stuff. How do I engage my followers, my future followers, with what I have going on? So I'm going to get into all of this good stuff so we can talk about how we can help your nonprofit. So key takeaways. So during our presentation today, I'm going to be talking about these 4 big buckets. How can you improve your social media best practices? I'm going to share some literal tips and tricks so you can literally do this as soon as this webinar is done. Second, I'm going to talk about content. Content is queen. So we want to make sure that if you are posting on Tuesday, your post is on point. Just because you are online doesn't mean that you should just post all the time just because it's Tuesday. So I'm going to give you some literal examples on what you can do to improve the content that you're sharing online. 3, how do you engage your followers? What does that look like? What does that mean? Are all followers the same? I'm going to answer those questions for you. And 4, at the end, we are going to do some troubleshooting challenges. So if your organization is literally on here right now, you are here for a reason. You are here to say, hey, I need help and I'm trying to figure this out. This pandemic didn't make things any easier. So I'm going to answer those questions for you. I'm going to sit on the hot seat and I'm going to answer all those questions to get you headed in the right direction. So a little bit about me. I am a survivor. I am a former executive director of a nonprofit. I created Break the Silence Against Domestic Violence after I left an abusive relationship. I was still in college and I wanted to create a difference. So just like you, we share that similarity. We see the need, we see that we have to create change. And I wanted to do that in a very unique way. So I shared my restraining order. I know, brace yourself, advocates. I shared my restraining order on social media and let the world read it. And from there, it inspired millions of people to share their stories and break their silence. I had the honor of also being on the first advisory board with domestic shelters when they were just getting off the ground, and I had the honor of working with them. I've worked with companies like Sephora, Mobile Cause, and tons of celebrities all across the country because of the work that I was able to build online. So from nonprofits to companies like Sephora, I've worked with tons of different celebrities, like I mentioned, that you can see right here. And I've raised over $1 million for charity online. Now, I want to just say this again. I literally went from selling t-shirts out of the trunk of my car to raising over $1 million online for my cause. And I believe that any organization that has an incredible strategy, especially one that deals with social media, you have the ability to do that. So during the pandemic, we raised about $200,000 on Facebook donations alone. No gimmicks. This is literally what happened. No ads. It's a lot more than just a sentence, but boom, there it is. And I'm here to share my secrets with you. So just so you know, I wanted to show the receipts because you're probably wondering, well, is she who she says she is? Did she really do that? Yes, I did. And here's the receipts. So from January 2016 to August 2020, you see a huge increase in followers in comparison to when I first started. I started my nonprofit December 3rd, 2011. And between there and 2015, I really didn't have a strategy. I was just posting on Tuesday because it was Tuesday, sharing stories, sharing survivor stories. And I was just online engaging people. I was literally online probably 20 hours a day, 7 days a week. This was before I had a team, before I had a strategy, before I knew that social media needed much more than just a post. And so just so you can see my literal receipts, and this is from a program that we used that allowed us to track our social media numbers. So between 2011 and 2020, you'll see a huge increase. I had a 748% increase in audience growth because I had the strategy, because I built an all-star team, and because I had a vision of where we needed to take our social media presence. So let's get into it. How did I do it? So first, you want to make sure that you have a brand identity. This is huge. And so here is a perfect example. So when I first created my nonprofit, I had a series of different logos. I didn't love them. I liked them. They were able to kind of share this is what our nonprofit's name was, but it really wasn't on brand. There wasn't really colors that we were using consistently. There wasn't really a font that we were using consistently. And the best way that I like to tell nonprofits is that when you think of Target, Walmart, Amazon, Apple, you instantly can tell me what their logo and their brand looks like. You can tell me what their brand makes you feel like. You can tell me how their customer service is because their brand is on point. So just because you are a nonprofit does not mean that you are not going to treat your nonprofit like a business. So if, for example, our logo was a heart with an infinity symbol in it. And so when people saw the infinity symbol, when people saw the heart, they knew it was my nonprofit. And so I want to encourage you, first things first, if you do not have a logo that you absolutely love, that your followers and your donors and your fan base can remember you by, let's start with square one and let's start from scratch. Not completely rewrite your nonprofit, but we want to make sure that people are remembering your organization. So when they're out in the community, they know, oh, that's domestic shelters. Oh, that's such and such nonprofit. We want to make sure that you're creating that remembrance of your organization so people can know about you. Next, content creation. This is huge. And shout out to domestic shelters for doing an incredible job at this. So one of the things that really set Break the Silence apart from other nonprofits and other organizations online is that 100% of the content that we were creating while I was with my nonprofit was all original. And a perfect way to kind of give you some examples, or if you haven't followed our organization, another organization that is doing a fantastic job with original content is Domestic Shelters. So I'm talking about blogs, I'm talking about photos, I'm talking about videos, I'm talking about everything that the organization is putting out is original. And here's why. This is why it's important. If you are scrolling online and looking for videos, looking for new content, and you see that such and such nonprofit is constantly sharing from Stand Up Survivor or Not By My Own Community or such and such nonprofit, why would you want to follow that nonprofit when you can go directly to the source? For example, Target. Target's constantly posting their own clothes, their own sales, their own clearance, their own whatever they have going on. You really don't see Target posting Walmart. You're not seeing Target posting Apple unless Target is selling Apple. So you want to make sure, and I know this is a huge undertaking, but I'm telling you right now, this is game changing. This is what's going to set your organization, your business apart from everybody else, is that you are creating a hub of original content. So another perfect example that I really love is Stand Up Survivor. I actually had the honor of working with them this year for the nonprofit makeover. And one of the things that they did, and I love seeing it on their page, is that their logo, their branding is now on point. When you see posts from Stand Up Survivor, you see that it's all Stand Up Survivor branding. That means their color, their font, their logo. So you want to make sure when you are posting on Tuesday or Thursday or Saturday afternoon is that these pieces of content are all made by your organization. And if you're probably wondering, well, how the heck am I going to do that? Well, our team of volunteers were incredible at putting together content, and we literally worked together as a team each and every day to build content that were all pretty much married. So if we had a DVAM campaign coming up in October, our blogs had to do with DVAM, our graphics had to do with DVAM, our banners on social media had to do with DVAM. Everything was in alignment with the campaign that we were putting together. Target audience. This is really huge, and this is something that often gets missed by a lot of organizations. And here's what I'm talking about. So, as we do this work as advocates, we know that we want to reach everybody. Let's be honest, we want to create an impact. We want families to have healthier homes. We want kids to be educated about domestic violence and teen dating violence. And we want to make sure that we're reaching everybody. And while that is an honorable thing to want to strive for, you want to make sure that you have a target audience that you are reaching. For example, the biggest demographic of people when I was with my nonprofit was millennials. I happen to be a millennial. So the content, the engagement, the wording, the vibe that we were creating for our followers were very much in alignment with millennials. Now, does that mean that we didn't serve younger people? Does that mean that we weren't serving people that were older than millennials? They were still present on our social media, but one of the things that you want to take into consideration, especially if you are, a nonprofit that specializes in teen dating violence, or a nonprofit that is specializing in, a particular demographic of people, because you want to make sure that your marketing efforts, you want to make sure that the platform that you are on social media is the appropriate platform for your audience. Another example, millennials are on Instagram and on Facebook. However, if I'm trying to reach maybe, a 14-year-old girl who loves TikTok, she's probably going to be on TikTok. Apparently, Facebook is now considered old by these young people, which does that mean that we're old? We want to make sure that the audience that we are reaching matches the social media platform that we are on. So again, not every platform is best suited for your organization. That could be a conversation that we can have after this, or maybe in the Q&A section, but just something for you to know. I'm just going to plant the seed. Not every platform is for every organization. So why does content matter? Well, there are 3.1 billion reasons why content matters. And here's why. There are 3.1 billion subscribers on social media right now. And just like you and I scroll through social media watching videos. I love seeing fun stuff online. And so people, just like you and I, are looking for new content. They're looking for new trends. They're looking for new causes, just like yours, and they just don't know about you yet. So when you create incredible content, not just sharing from what another nonprofit said, or sharing other articles from the news, it's important that you are sharing content that's specifically from your cause. Maybe it's blogs that you were putting out because there was a recent domestic violence tragedy in your community, and you all are writing about it, and you are kind of creating your own news hub, your own news source. And so this all plays into why someone is going to follow you and your organization. You're creating original content, and you're creating incredible quality content that people want to see and want to keep up with. So if you're wondering, oh my gosh, is social media for me? Oh my gosh, do people really want to see us online? The answer is yes. People want to know about you. They want to fundraise for you. They want to be a part of your cause. They just need to know that you exist. Boom. So here are two different methods that I've created, and these are the baseline of what I would suggest any nonprofit, no matter your cause, no matter your demographic of people, I want to see you all using these two methods, and here's why. So when you're posting online, you're probably wondering, well, what the heck am I supposed to post? That's always funny to say. It's supposed to post. What am I supposed to share? What am I going to tell people? Like, what do people want to read? And so these three things, and I feel like this is very much in alignment with your cause, being that we're all here under the umbrella of domestic shelters. This is definitely in alignment with your brand and with the messaging that you want to share. So my C method is connect, educate, and empower. When you are posting on Wednesday and you're like, is this post, does it meet the standards? Is it in alignment with what I am trying to accomplish today? And what I want you to think about is, when you're posting, is it connecting survivors? Is it connecting them in their community? Is it connecting people from the donor's perspective with the cause? Is it connecting them with the idea that, hey, I can be an advocate, I can be a social changer if I am a part of this organization, and this piece of information that was shared online, this is the connecting piece. Educate. Does the information that you are sharing, does it educate them more about domestic violence and sexual assault, teen dating violence, or any form of abuse that your organization is educating about? This was really huge, and this was very impactful, because what I've noticed is that more people were gravitating to the education component and the posts that we were sharing. So we wanted to make sure that we were always giving high quality, top notch education. So people, no matter if you were young or old, black or white, gay or straight, non-binary, didn't matter, this information applied to them. And so we want to make sure that when you are sharing online, that you are posting with a purpose. You are posting to connect, educate, and empower. And so the third component of empower was really important to me on a personal level. As a survivor, as an advocate, as the founder of this nonprofit, I wanted to make sure that I was educating people and empowering them to take action. Now that meant, can you become a donor? Can you become a volunteer? Can you become a board member? Can you be a supporter? And how are you going to do that? I wanted to make sure that people understood, no matter where they came from, no matter if they were affected by this cause or not, I wanted to empower them to understand that this cause was their cause. So when you are out there creating content, sharing content, we want to make sure as advocates, this is kind of just my advocate slash my nonprofit makeover hat, is that we want to make sure that we are reaching everybody. Yes, I know a second ago, it's depending on the demographic or depending on the platform that we want to use, but we also want to make sure that no matter who is on our page, we are constantly going to empower them to take action. Because once we can get that conversation going as advocates and as just human beings, we are going to see some serious change. Okay, now the boss method. I love this because on top of me doing the nonprofit makeover, I also built a community called Boss Babe Networking, which is a community designed to uplift women in business. And so this reminded me of that, is that when you are building your brand, whether it's a for-profit or a nonprofit, we have to make sure that our branding is on point. Again, think of Target, Walmart, Amazon, Chick-fil-A. They do an incredible job at ingraining the messaging, the image, the logo of the nonprofit. So we want to make sure that your organization is on point on branding. And if you need help, I'll have my information at the end of this conversation where we can get connected and I can answer any questions that you might have. Over deliver. So again, if it's Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday afternoon, it doesn't matter when it is. We want to make sure that everything that your organization is putting out, whether it's social media, website, or even a newsletter, that your content is always top notch. And again, a perfect example of that is domestic shelters. No matter what they are putting out incredible content for you to be connected, educated, and empowered. Third, we want to stay consistent. So I see this a lot, not with just domestic violence related nonprofits, but just nonprofits as a whole. Sometimes when I do my social media audits of organizations, I see that sometimes someone's posting last Monday and the post before that was 2 months ago. Now, if you want to stay consistent, if you want to see a consistent growth of your social media, you have to stay consistent. And an incredible resource, in case you didn't know this, Facebook, you can schedule posts. So you literally don't have to sign on every 5 minutes and post online. And if you are posting every 5 minutes, please stop. That's too much. We want to make sure that you are staying consistent, but again, do not overdo it. This was a question that we got in prior to launching this webinar. Some individuals had asked, how often should I post online? I would say perfect world scenario, because we can create a perfect world, I'd say post 3 to 4 times a day, Monday through Friday. If you see a large engagement or a large flow of people on social media on the weekends, post on the weekends. However, I would very much encourage you all not to work on the weekends. So let's make sure that you are staying consistent and you are making sure that you are always doing that top-notch job. Last, I want to say stay engaged. You want to make sure that if people are commenting, and I know we can understand on this level, is that sometimes the comments are not nice. And so we want to make sure that you're always leading with love. You want to make sure that you're always a positive representation for your nonprofit. So that means you got to stay happy, you got to stay great, because you never know the people who are commenting or the people who are trying to engage, where they're at, or how their life is going as we speak. However, one of the things that I will also plant the seed to give you some ideas is that Break the Silence was one of the first nonprofits to do this. We were engaging our clients on social media in Messenger. And so this raised a lot of red flags, and we can totally have an open debate after this if you want. However, we made sure that people could reach us anywhere they were. And for again, without having to go completely off tangent, we engaged in the conversations in Messenger to give people the resources they need. Now, I can also go through how we were able to do that in a safe way, but this was one of the biggest ways that we were able to help our survivors and our victims that were currently in situations. We were helping on average hundreds of people each month, people asking for resources, people asking to how can they help other people. And so these are all ways that you can stay engaged. And so people understand that when they need help, they can contact you. Because let's face it, we're living in a day and age right now where people aren't picking up the phone and calling helplines and hotlines. And so we have to meet them where they're at and make sure that we can serve them in this new world of technology that we're living in. All right, so I'm flying through this. I want to make sure that you all have a very clear idea of content and giving you some examples on how you can use story to engage your followers and how you can use story to inspire your donors to give. Now, I see this a lot online where a lot of nonprofits, a lot of nonprofit leaders constantly post, donate to our cause, donate here, donate. And every post online on their socials is make a donation. Now, the way that I want you to see it is the donation is the end game. But just like a relationship, we want to make sure that you are building a relationship with your donors prior to saying, hey, give me your money. And I joke about this all the time with my clients, and I say, you're not just going to walk up to some random person walking down the street and say, hey, give me some money. You're not going to do that. They're probably not going to give you money. So I'm going to show you some ways on how you can literally pull on those heartstrings and inspire people to invest into your cause, because that's ultimately what they're doing. They're not just giving you money, they're investing into you to create social change, and they're trusting you with their money to literally create the impact that we all know your community needs. So I'm going to go through some of these photos and tell you how you can transform just a photo that says, oh, grandma and grandpa are here in town and we're going to help them buy groceries. Instead, let's paint a picture. Let me show you the difference between a photo and a video without literally even showing you a video. So one of the things that I really loved about my nonprofit was I had the opportunity to share stories and create stories in a space where people can connect and be educated and feel empowered for being a part of our cause. So let me just give you some examples. So we have grandma and grandpa on the side here, and they look happy and they're excited, but let's just give them a story real quick. Let's just say that we're turning this photo into a video experience where, number one, videos are always going to perform better than pretty much any other form of media online. So just going to plant that seed. So let's just say, the grandkids are knocking on grandparents' door. It's the grandparents got vaccinated, everybody, and let's not get into the whole vaccination question, but let's just say they're safe to see their family now. And the family is knocking on their door and they're so excited. And, the small children are giving grandma and grandpa some treats and some flowers because this is the first time they've seen them in over a year. And so you see the emotions, you see the excitement on their face, and you see the interaction between the family. And maybe it's a video where they're walking up to the front door, and then there's another angle where the grandparents are seeing the kids walk up, and the emotions are there. The music is playing in the background, and the nonprofit that they are representing has to do with bringing families together, or maybe it's a PSA for COVID. Who knows? However, if you can kind of feel with me on that experience versus, oh, here's a photo and they're smiling and you're posting it online and there really isn't a story. We don't know who they are. We don't know what they did yesterday, but we want to create a story where people feel connected with what you're sharing online. Another good example. We see a young man here painting a mural. Let's just say he's in Washington, D.C., and he is in college right now pursuing an art degree. And the nonprofit that he is volunteering with provides young artists the opportunity to create art in downtown. And so the beautiful thing about this is that we can turn this into a video. We can turn this into a testimonial of how your donations literally give young men like him the opportunity to share their talents and to give back in a very special way. When you donate $10 a month, you have the opportunity to provide art supplies for the whole city. Example. Okay, another one. We see this man here in the blue jacket who is taking a photo. And let's be honest, homelessness is one of the leading effects of domestic violence. And so what if he was a victim of domestic violence and he is now staying at Springs Rescue Mission here in Colorado Springs, and he has been living on the streets for 5 years now, and he's been, just doing his own thing. And so imagine being able to share his story. Imagine being able to sit down with him for an interview and tell us how he got to this point. Tell us your story. Tell us how you survived the last 5 years. And so when you give people the opportunity to share stories and to break their silence, it inspires other people to share theirs. You never know that when this man shares his story, that there could be other followers on your page who were like, oh my gosh, that was my story, or that was my dad's story, or that was my mom's story. And so when we give people the opportunity to share their stories, this inspires other people to want to get involved and to want to take action with your cause. When you create that sense of connection, you get people excited and you give them the opportunity to feel like, hey, this isn't just a nonprofit. This is a community. This is a family, and we give you a voice. That's one of the biggest things that we saw really created some serious impact with our organization is, wow, this is a place where I can feel heard and I can feel like my voice actually matters. And so that is going to set you apart from any other organization. I know this is not a competition, but again, what your organization does might be different than what another organization may do. And one of the things that I want to just plant the seed again is that when we come together as a community, when organizations come together to really fill in the gap in services, because what organization A might offer might not be the same thing what organization B, C, D, E, F, and G might offer. So let's provide opportunities to share stories. Let's provide opportunities for partnership. Let's give people in our community a voice. So to sum up what I just said, better content leads to more engagement, which leads to more followers, which leads to better results, which leads to more volunteers, more board members, and more donors, and more engaged supporters. So this equation that I just made is a beautiful way for you to literally apply everything that I just mentioned and literally jump in to create better content. And if you are looking for avenues on how you can do that without breaking the bank, I want you to write this down real quick. Canva.com. They provide a free opportunity for you to create beautiful graphics, videos, presentations, proposals, you name it, for free. If you are a nonprofit, which I'm assuming many of you are, you can apply for the nonprofit rate, which I believe is free. So if you're like me and you're always looking for a great discount, you're always looking to get the most bang for your buck, especially on that nonprofit budget, check out canva.com. Another great resource for you to create videos if you have content. And what's beautiful is that if you have an iPhone, this is a great tool for you to create content, for you to post online, for you to pretty much do everything that needs to be done literally with your smartphone. But third, I would encourage you to check out Fiverr.com. Incredible website. It has graphic designers, it has video editors. It has pretty much everything that you need under the sun, literally without breaking the bank. So I would highly encourage you to take a look at those resources and create content with that. Again, if you don't have the team or the capacity, that's a whole nother conversation that we can totally have. But again, taking this in baby steps is definitely where it's at. You have to start somewhere. Okay, so a lot of people have been asking me this. A lot of people want to know, well, people are already burnt out with virtual events, Kristen. I don't know what to do anymore. People aren't responding to us online. People aren't showing up on Zoom. What do we do? Well, my question to you and every client that I have worked with is, what are you doing differently than everybody else? If everyone is hosting a virtual retreat on women empowerment, how are you going to create a virtual retreat on a women empowerment that's different than everybody else? Now, I don't want to get into ideas with you right this second. Again, if you have questions, we can totally talk about it on the side. However, I want to encourage you to think about, what can you do differently? You know, the pandemic gave us a window to think about, how can we pivot our nonprofit? How can we reach people like never before? How can we get people excited about our cause? How can we do that virtually? So Break the Silence Against Domestic Violence was an incredible example of that. Before the pandemic was even a thing, everything that we did, with the exception of our in-person conferences, our Survivor Sister retreats, everything was done online. Our education was done online, but also in person. We also served survivors on social media, which I mentioned a second ago. And a lot of our things, our events and things that we did online were still virtual. But the thing is that we created a different lane, a different avenue that got people excited. And so if you're like, okay, I'm turning my wheels, Kristen, and I'm not getting anywhere. So some of the things that I want to just plant the seed to give you some ideas is that people who are online are just like you and I. And so they want to find things that are going to excite them. For example, just give you some quick ideas. You can do a fashion show. Now that we're kind of back in person, now we can bring things back and offer it virtually at the same time. And so you can go Facebook Live, Instagram Live, you can do a Zoom, you can do different platforms that offer services that can stream online. But you want to create different events that people haven't been to, or people are literally missing the opportunity to connect with people again. So think of ways that are going to get them excited to do that. Now, every organization is different. Everyone has a different vibe. Everyone has different branding. Everyone has a different demographic of people that they're trying to reach. And so how, keeping in mind with the demographic that we talked about a second ago, how are we going to reach the demographic of people that we are trying to reach? So let's jump into that. How do I engage my audience? Well, I'm going to give you some ideas. So here are 6 different ways that you can engage your audience right now. These are all easy ways that you can literally jump in, get innovative, get creative, and find ways that are going to inspire people to want to get involved with you and your cause. So we talked about better content. So we want to make sure that everything that your organization is producing is original. That means blogs, that means pictures, that means videos. We want to make sure that when people are going onto your website or your social, they're not getting this anywhere else. You're giving them exclusive content, never before seen information that they can follow, that they can stay engaged with like no one else. So better content, innovative ideas, new trends spark interest. Think of new ways to engage your company, your brand, or your service with the community. Another perfect example, another organization that did an incredible job, actually I have 2 examples. One, the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. The creator of that literally blew up the internet with this incredible idea where people from all walks of life, all over the world, were doing this Ice Bucket Challenge. Now, if there is something that your organization does, and I wish I would have had it prepared, I have it over there, but I'm not going to get up and grab it. But one of the things that my nonprofit did was constantly create campaigns. Two of the campaigns that we've done was, not to shock anybody, was the SDV challenge, and it wasn't F. And that was our most popular campaign that we did. It literally was on Huffington Post and dozens of different media outlets because it got people excited. It got people interested on what it was. And although saying F domestic violence is something that, you know, a lot of people were concerned about because of the word itself, my clap back to that was, are you going to be more offended at the F word than domestic violence? Let's think about that. So I was willing to do whatever it took for people to get excited and interested and engaged with domestic violence. And that meant, you know, saying the F word. And that literally sparked hundreds of thousands of people to literally get on board. Another organization that did an incredible job that literally broke the internet was the Coney 2012 campaign. It was one of the most brilliant, if not the biggest, social media campaign to ever reach the internet. The Invisible Children nonprofit literally was able to achieve the goal they were trying to do. They made banners, they made shirts, they made swag, they made social media campaigns, they made a video that went viral 1 million times over. And so think about your organization and what you can do different. I don't want to get into full-on DVAM campaign ideas, but one thing that I'm going to just, again, plant the seed with everyone is that saying stop domestic violence, end domestic violence, is not going to end the issue. We have to come together as advocates, as creatives, as people who genuinely care about this cause, and think of new ways that we are going to get people interested and engaged with this message. And so we have to do whatever it takes to get people on board with this. Perks. So this was something that we loved doing. We loved giving away things. We loved making t-shirts, giving perks. We partner with different companies and brands where, you know, maybe during the holidays, we did 9 days of giveaways where we partnered with people to give away gift cards for the holidays. We partnered with Passion Planner to give away passion planners to people who followed our page. We gave away buttons and stickers and things like that so people can promote our nonprofit anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world. And these were all things that, you know, people had to like this post, share this post, and do those types of things to really get their wheels turning and get them excited again about the cause. Appeal to the audience. So that means really tapping into, and there's so much to social media. There are ways online where you can literally check the insights, or AKA the analytics, to see who is on your page. Is it mainly women? Is it mainly millennials? Is it mainly people in California? Is it mainly people between the hours of 6 p.m. and 8 p.m.? There are so many different ways that you can track online without needing, you know, all the fanciness, to see who is on your page. So you can make sure that you are catering to your audience. You want to make sure that the people who are there are catered to, they understand who you are, and they, you know, you understand them and how they want to be spoken to and engaged with. Collaborations. So this is huge and not a lot of people are doing it. So I'm going to, again, drop another gem real quick. So I have had the honor of building a very successful speakers bureau. I have had the honor of working with dozens of different celebrities and social media influencers. So for those who are like, what the heck is an influencer? It's pretty much like the new day and age of online celebrities. So I'm thinking, if you've heard of this name, Addison Rae, Charlie D'Amelio, all those TikTokers and all those people online who have all the millions of followers and they're like only 15 years old. These people have huge followings. And fun story real quick is that I remember back in the day when I first started my nonprofit, I told my now brother-in-law to wear a shirt that said "Break the Silence" on it. he decided to use that shirt in a music video. And in that music video was his brother and sister. When he introduced his brother to me, long story short, we're now married. That's how I found my husband. And him and I have, traveled the country speaking out against domestic violence. But I met him by giving his brother a t-shirt. And his brother had a huge following. He's a musician with great following and great fan base. And so when you have these collaborations and when you are tapping into celebrities, maybe the mayor in your city, maybe the local news reporters, or maybe small time American Idol people that audition for American Idol and they have a big following online and they live in your city. Tap into those people and ask them, hey, do you want to come to our events? Do you want to speak at our events? Can you do a social media campaign with us? Can you, wear one of our shirts that say Stand Up Survivor on it and post it online and tell people to follow us online? These are all organic ways that you can grow your online base and get more people to know about you by simply collaborations. Platform, again, depending on who your nonprofit is trying to reach, depending on your messaging, depending on your brand, you probably have a social media platform that's best suited for you. So if you are trying to literally do TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, LinkedIn, all those platforms, and it's just you're probably feeling the weight of the world on your shoulders right now. And you're probably like, Kristen, you are preaching to me right now. So you want to make sure that if you are new to this, or if maybe you are seasoned at this, that you are picking the appropriate platform with the appropriate size of team. Now, again, I'm going to plant another seed. You have the ability to tap into talented people who can run your social media. Go to volunteermatch.org and start recruiting for volunteers on your page for your nonprofit, and use social media to tell people to volunteer with you. So again, depending on the size of your organization, depending on your messaging, depending on how large you want your messaging to be and how much you are trying to reach people, will depend on the platform and all those other pieces. And just for you to know, I had about 60 volunteers who volunteered with our nonprofit, and most of those individuals were creatives, and most of them were volunteers who led our social media. So I had a social media director who eventually turned into our communications director, who had a communications assistant. And then we had, just so you know, we had our Facebook team, we had our Instagram team, we had our Twitter team, who also ran our Pinterest team. And we also had a YouTube team. So we literally built one of the biggest teams for social media because we saw how impactful it was and how great this was for our marketing efforts. Woo! All right. So here are some do's and do nots. So we want to make sure that we are creating unique event experiences, and of course, unique experiences in general. So if an event or concept isn't working, do not be afraid to pivot. If you are constantly doing a spaghetti fundraiser and people are like, I don't really want spaghetti anymore, try something different. Do an appetizers event, do a networking event, do a lunch and learn, partner with your local Jersey Mike Subway where you can get food for free and get people in the door to educate them. Create something different and don't be afraid to try something new. I hear this a lot from organizations who are just really stuck in their ways of, I do this way and this is what we do. If you want to survive this pandemic in terms of social media, your brand, I can't tell you how many nonprofits I've heard of that have literally already closed their doors because they could not figure it out. I want to tell you right here, right now, there is a way, there are solutions. You have to be open to change and you have to be willing to really create a nonprofit makeover. Invest in quality. Whether you are representing a nonprofit, a business, academic institution, wherever you are coming from, you want to make sure you are always willing to invest in quality. Quality photography, videography, social media strategies, or even brand development. One of the things that our nonprofit did before I transitioned out is that we literally had a huge multimedia budget. And that meant we were creating videos. We were constantly doing campaigns. We were investing into people who were going to create this content for us so we can collectively make sure that every move was our best move. If you're like, Kristen, I don't even know where to go, which direction is up at this point, I feel like now I'm drowning, I want you to know that it's going to be okay and that you can take this in bite-sized pieces. Now, don't wait too long. Don't miss the boat. We want to make sure that you are constantly going to be a work in progress to make sure that your nonprofit is constantly growing and constantly reaching people. So in turn, you're creating a huge impact. Connect and engage with your followers. So tap in, answer those comments, answer those messages. How social media works is that when you are online and you are engaging with the comments, that looks good for your analytics, which means more people are going to see it. If you are just posting stuff and just leaving it and forgetting about it, you're not going to get as much engagement if you aren't engaging with, your followers. Another question that I often get asked is, well, Kristen, like, how do we get the wheels turning with what we have so far? Here's a quick another gem for you. Board members, volunteers, staff members, executive directors, I need you to interact with your social media and share that with your network. One of the things that we did and constantly did at my nonprofit was I had every single volunteer, board member, everybody under the sun, I had them click the invite button on Facebook. And I had them invite, if I have 500 friends, if you have 500 friends, that's 1,000 potential people who are now going to know about your nonprofit. So quick gem, if you haven't done this, I need you to get your staff, your volunteers, everybody a part of your organization, your family, your friends, their family and friends. I need you to have everybody invite your people onto your social. Now, that doesn't mean just sharing it onto your page, hey, everybody go like it. There is literally a button that you can click that's going to say, hey, invite, and they are going to automatically like your page if they click accept. So we want to make sure that we are doing that. That is an easy, free way for you to get more exposure and for you to grow your social media page literally in an instant. So the beauty and benefit of social media is that you are able to connect with people all around the world. And in case you haven't seen your insights or your analytics on your Facebook page, you can see where they're coming from. You can see where your followers are. And this gives you a really good idea that in the event that you, wanted to do a world tour and do an educational world tour with your nonprofit, you know where they're at, you know where to find them, and you can see what populations of people are more gravitated to your cause. So another fun fact, I've done 3 national speaking tours, and that was my way of seeing where are these people coming from and where can I go to see and meet my followers real time. Burnout. Now, this is probably preaching to the choir one more time. So too much of anything is overload. So we want to make sure that you are not overdoing the events, you are not overdoing the posts. I hear this a lot from nonprofits. They're like, oh, well, I'm doing an event next month and I'm going to do an event the month after that, and then a month after that, and then a month after that. Now, you do not want to overdo it. You do not want to overwhelm or burn out your followers or your donors. So you want to make sure that you are strategic with all of those pieces as well. Woo! So I went through a ton of content, and I would love to open up the floor for any questions. I saw that the Q&A button was popping up while I was talking, but I wanted to make sure that I was getting through everything that I possibly could get through, so you all can have all the information.
Woo! Awesome. Woo! Yes, I think we're all jazzed right now. So I've got a lot of questions. I'm going to try and get through as many as we can in the next 8 minutes that we have left. So let's just dive right in. First question kind of popped up in the chat was just, can you just clarify on the frequency of posting that you recommend?
Sure. So I would recommend 3 to 4 times a day, every day. Okay. Now, I personally, when I'm actually a social media manager for quite a few different businesses and influencers, I do not post on the weekends. And so depending on your flow and how you want to do it, you can post on the weekends, you cannot post on the weekends and still be good. But I would highly recommend probably 3 to 4 times a day. Okay. And also when you're posting, let's just say you're posting on a Tuesday, don't post blog. Do blog, video, photo, question, like something, mix it up every single time you post.
Yeah, fantastic. Question from BB. How does someone find a local influencer? Can you give some suggestions on where people should start?
Sure. So the cheat answer to that is contact me. I happen to know a bunch of them. But one of the, how I started doing it was literally look online and see who you follow. Are there people online that you currently follow that you like? Perfect question, or perfect example. I'm not sure if anyone knows who Christy Mack was. She was the survivor who was brutally abused by War Machine, who was a MMA fighter or whatever. I literally reached out to her on social media. I told her my story. I told her about my nonprofit, and I said, hey, I'd love to connect with you. Ended up building a great friendship and relationship with her. She ended up doing a ton of campaigns with us, donating money with us, speaking at our events. And so partnerships is a whole nother thing. But I would say reach out to people in your community, start small, and then grow from there.
Fantastic. Next question is from Kyle. Actually, we answered this question, but let's just remind people. I said, is there a resource that can help with creating a logo? So you mentioned Canva. So let's just kind of direct people there. Or any other graphic resources you want to share?
My first bet would probably be Canva. If you know graphic designers, or if you go to Volunteer Match and recruit a graphic designer to volunteer with your nonprofit, there is an option as well. But I would definitely recommend Fiverr for sure.
Awesome. The next question came from a couple people. So Julianne and Cami asked about confidentiality. So can you share other people's stories, or should you just focus on volunteers? Any guidance you can share with the group on this?
So I have always been a rule breaker. I'm just going to say that up front. And now that I'm able to consult with nonprofits, here's my honest to goodness truth, because we got that a lot. I would say there are a couple ways of doing it. That if I wanted to share my story as a survivor, I'm perfectly fine with sharing my face, my story, boom, there it is. That's kind of the easy, perfect world scenario. However, let's just say Ashley wants to share her story, but she doesn't want her face to be out there and she doesn't want her name to be out there. So we can just say Ashley, or we can say a survivor from Arizona shared her story and this is what it is. When you give people the opportunity to break their silence, it literally inspires other people to share theirs. When I shared my restraining order on Facebook, people literally cringed at the idea of me doing that. Now, I didn't put his name, I didn't put his photos. It was never about him. It was about me and reclaiming my voice. And so I would encourage you as advocates to give people the opportunity to do that. And there are so many different ways that you can do it by not showing their photo or not showing their name. And of course, we want to make sure that it's not about the abuser. You don't have to say, oh, my abuser's name is, and this is where they're from. It's not about them. Let's give our survivors their voice and give them the opportunity to share their story.
Awesome. What about one of the other questions that came up was specifically from Jill, but I'm sure it's on everyone else's mind, is how do you balance awareness-based posts, about services and resources and really just domestic violence in general with fundraising posts and other topics? How do you kind of strike that balance?
Sure. So one of the things that long and short answer. So break the silence, what we did was constantly educate, constantly show awareness. And when people see that this is what your nonprofit does, and it's not just a like page, it's not just a place where people are going to get educated, they invest in it. Maybe you shared their story. Maybe you, gave them or their family the opportunity to get services. And so you sprinkle in those testimonials. You sprinkle in, oh, our retreat last summer did this, or, oh, we helped such and such students at the local high school do this. And then you're posting survivor stories and you're weaving it in there. And it's not just donate. Oh, it's donate season. Oh, it's gala. Oh, gala, tickets. Like that's not how you're going to get people to get excited. People aren't going to want to get excited to donate if you're constantly asking them for money, or if they feel that all you want from them is money. So what we saw was that the people who were doing Facebook fundraisers for us were survivors, and it was birthday fundraisers. So a perfect way to kind of weave in that kind of fundraiser plus awareness thing is that it's Ashley's birthday, and she was so impacted by the work that Domestic Shelter does. It educated her so much about the cause that she wants to provide 100 students for her birthday the opportunity to get more education from the organization. And so when people see that Ashley supports domestic shelters and she's sharing that with her friends and family, oh my gosh, I love Ashley and Ashley loves this cause. So I'm going to support Ashley, and Ashley's going to support this cause. So essentially, you're giving people the opportunity to be a vessel to support any organization that they want. And so if you are watching right now, all of you have a birthday. So I would encourage you to start birthday fundraisers. Tell, your community, in some fun video ways. I've done tons of different videos where I had one of my daughters like flailing her arms, singing happy birthday in the weirdest voice that she could. And I posted that online saying, hey, this is your opportunity to give back for Tiana's birthday. And so when you are creative in that way to really, get people to want to give, and you show them that you're making an impact, that's what's going to get people to want to donate. And you're weaving that in and not just saying, hey, give me money, give me money, give me money.
Awesome. Well, we're getting close to the end. I'm going to try and squeeze in one more question if we can. So you had mentioned volunteermatch.org. And actually, first to confirm, was your social media team entirely volunteer based, or how did that work for you?
And that surprised everybody. So I'm going to answer that in two ways. As a domestic violence nonprofit, for me, it was so important for me to know, or for my team to know, that I cared about them, and it was them that allowed us to grow our organization in the way that it did. It was not the Kristen show. It was not, the Brian show. It was a team effort. We really, honed in on that teamwork makes the dream work. And so this surprises everybody, and I'm going to wear my nonprofit makeover hat for a second. That when you provide an opportunity for people to feel loved and appreciated, they're going to stay. I am here to break the myth that volunteers are only temporary. I'm here to break that myth for you to think that, oh, in order for people to stay and do a good job, we have to pay them. Now, yes, if you do pay them, that doesn't guarantee that they're going to do a good job. However, if you love on your volunteers, if you appreciate your volunteers, if you give them the opportunity to grow, they're going to want to give back to your cause. And so to answer it in a short answer, yes, most of my team was volunteer based. It wasn't until the beginning of 2020, before the pandemic actually shut the whole world down, that we actually hired people. And I'm grateful that we were able to sustain that during 2020 through Facebook fundraisers. So short answer, yes, we started off with nothing but volunteers. 2019 was my first year that I actually was able to have an assistant. I was the first paid employee of my nonprofit. Then we hired an assistant. Then we hired 7 people in 2020, and the rest was history.
Fantastic. Well, wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing all this. I know to everyone, Kristen has graciously shared her contact information. And if you have any additional questions, I apologize we didn't get to every one of them. There were so many questions. Feel free to reach out to her directly and ask those questions. She said that she'll be able to share her expertise on that. So with that, Kristen, any other final words, anything you want to say before we wrap up?
Sure. So I want to thank you and Domestic Shelters for giving me the opportunity to share. It's amazing to be able to sit in now this position, not as an advocate, but someone who advocates for the cause. And so I want to encourage, I love that we have 222 people.
I think
here
it was
on
over 260 at one point. Yeah.
Oh, sweet. So I want to encourage you, if you have questions, if you are in a situation where you're like, oh my gosh, like, how do we keep going? How do we make this work? There are solutions. And I feel like I have a different approach to how to serve domestic violence nonprofits because I was there. I was in your shoes at one point for just about a decade. And so I'm here to support you. I'm here, we're in this together. And I feel like when we work together as a team, we collaborate. Domestic Shelters gave us all the opportunity to come together, and they gave us, they give us all a voice, and they give all of our nonprofits the opportunity to showcase the work that we're doing. So please screenshot my information. If you have questions, I'm here to support you. And again, I'm here to support you. And if there's anything that I can do to answer any questions or anything in between, you can follow me on social, The Nonprofit Makeover. My email is hello@thenonprofitmakeover.com, and my website at The Nonprofit Makeover. See, branding.
Awesome. Love it. Love it. Well, thank you again, Kristen. And thank you to everyone else for joining us today. We'll go ahead and get wrapped up with just a couple reminders that we will send out the recording, a transcript, and certificate of attendance, and links to all the resources mentioned today. We'll send that out via email to everyone within a week. And if you are a call-in listener right now, you're listening in on the phone, send an email to info@domesticshelters.org to make sure that you get that information sent to you via email. With that, that, we'll conclude today's presentation. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.